All right, let's go ahead and call tonight's Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order. Roll call. Pete McHugh, Brian Lasowski, Megan Greisen.
Brandon Lasowski.
Did I say Brian?
Mhm.
Brandon Lasowski.
All right.
It's,
I've been called a lot
Aaron
of
Paul
things.
Simpson. And Josh Bowling is here on the phone at this point. Approval of tonight's agenda.
Move to approve.
Hearing a motion to approve, is there a second?
Second?
Hearing second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion.
Son.
Oh, and Tyler Miller has joined on the phone. Public comment, is there anyone that would like to comment on the Urban Renewal Agency this morning or this evening? Seeing none, I will move forward to the approval of the minutes from the May 16th and June 20th, 2022 meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Hearing a motion by Brandon Lasowski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Pete McHugh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, new business, review applications. City Manager Raines.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So following the posting of the grant programs you all approved, we do have some applications for your review. There's 4 in total. We did try to go through them as much as possible just to confirm that they had provided all the materials you asked for. I believe a couple of them might be missing a couple minor things, but they did want to be part of this presentation to you all. I know that we have at least one of the applicants in the room for Healthy Smiles. I don't think, yeah, we have, or do, what was that, Cathedral? Okay, and then Cathedral as well. We also obviously have Lori Oliver Joseph, our Community Development Director. We've got Carol Almer, our Finance Administrator, and obviously Isaac, my assistant. You know, if you have any questions, also Lori can kind of fill in any additional questions about, you know, the development applications themselves, depending on what point in the process they are in, et cetera. Beyond that, we did include that there is just over 55,000 available for this program, and we printed out the program guidelines for you just as a reminder. And then I had emailed out also just the list of general goals for the district, again, just as a reminder as you're considering these for funding. Does anyone want to add anything to that? Forward? Okay.
So why don't we start with the first one? Lori?
Happy to answer any questions you have. Did you want me, I don't have a presentation prepared per se.
Anyone have any questions on the applications?
If there's a representative from, we're first looking at the Cathedral Coffee application as number 1. If a representative from Cathedral would like to speak to this application or is prepared to answer questions, I don't know if we can move them to a spot. Could you just introduce yourself by name so we know who we're speaking
Yeah,
to?
so my name is Matthew, Matthew Galizia. I live just outside of the city, out in the woods, but work for Cathedral Coffee full time. I don't know if there's any specific questions about us applying for this grant that you guys have that I could totally answer potentially.
Thank you.
So my question is the piece of equipment that Cathedral would like to use the program for, has it been identified?
Yes, so we're hoping to upgrade our espresso machine in the cafe just across the street here. The espresso machine that we currently have, we've had since we opened, which was in 2017. We bought it used. We bought it kind of gently refurbished. But at this point, we've kind of exhausted the life out of that machine. We hope to upgrade it to something that is a little bit more in line with what our industry uses these days, and allows our baristas to kind of get experience on something that's kind of standard in our industry. And hopefully we can keep making lattes without the current one breaking down.
My question would be also, is the espresso machine plumbed? So therefore it's connected to a water. It's not mobile. It's a stationary piece of equipment. It's instrumental for the business purposes that you provide, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can add a little bit to that too. The espresso machine is where we make most of our drinks, whether it's a coffee related drink or anything else really on our menu. Almost everything goes through that machine. The estimated cost of a machine like something that we are trying to upgrade to would be a minimum of 20 grand. And that's on the low end of what espresso machines in our commercial environment tend to cost. So something from 20 grand up to $50,000 to $60,000 for an espresso machine. And that's pretty normal in our industry. So we're at a place, being a small business, where we're like, having a little bit of help to get to that place would be amazing. It is something that we also are excited to bring our staff, a lot of whom are former high schoolers at Scappoose High School, or just members of the community, teenagers, or people just fresh out into college, trying to find a part-time job, that kind of thing. We hopefully can give them the skills that transfer to pretty much any coffee bar around the country. A lot of the equipment we have right now is there or almost there, and we're hoping to kind of standardize that to something that the industry tends to use.
And just as a reminder, is the business owner a resident of Scappoose?
Yes, it just lives right behind Grocery Outlet.
Thank you.
I'm seeing that although this equipment is estimated at over 20,000, this application is just asking for 7,000, just part of that.
Yes.
I'm also looking at an invoice from April. Can you describe this invoice to me? I'm wondering, it looks like either you've had something replaced, or is this just an estimate? Because it does say a charge after 5 business days. So this is dated back April 23rd, and then the payment was due by April 30th. And it says installation and warranty, talked about like a premium flush head assembly, head with flush kit, something to reduce the sediment, chlorine and taste and odor scale, similar to an H2O filter. And then it lists an Eagle One, Simonelli 2-group espresso machine. So I'm just curious, is this invoice an estimate, or did you already buy the machine?
No, so this was an estimate as we were going into the summer, hoping to purchase something like this in the near future.
Mhm.
Something we have realized with a lot of our coffee equipment here in Scappoose specifically is that there is, among a lot of other minerals, there is a high volume of calcium in the water here. And that's something we didn't realize when we were building out our cafe. And so we didn't equip our cafe with the filters that we needed to remove that sediment and preserve our equipment. So that's kind of the issue we're running into now, is along with this espresso machine, this grant would allow us to upgrade to something that would allow us to basically filter the sediment out and preserve our equipment long term.
So just in regards to the invoice, that actual machine is listed at $13,500. The rest of it added on to that just comes out to $16,833. So I'm just curious how the estimate of your 20,000 has come about, if this is the estimate you were given.
Yeah, so we got that estimate through a friend of ours that we use to get a lot of our equipment. He's a longtime friend of our owners, kind of through some long-running relationships, and he is a service tech in Pennsylvania. Because he is a friend, he gives us wholesale prices on our equipment, so we get it already much less expensive than we would have if we went out and bought that machine. So that 20,000 is what most people would pay in our industry for that machine. We would end up getting it somewhere around 13 to 14,000.
And in addition to all the things you would need, it would turn out almost to about 17.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Lori, does this application meet all the criteria?
In full honesty, this program has not been turned over to me yet to manage, just because of my workload. So I did review the applications just so I was familiar with what was coming through. This one did appear that they had the majority of everything submitted. Some things weren't applicable because it's not a business development grant. Aside from that, I do believe they did submit what was needed to at least get to this point.
Thank you.
I'd like to just say also, if I could, that we really appreciate Cathedral Cafe being in our community. You guys do a great job, and it's a nice place to meet with people, and it's very appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks. And we really appreciate being a part of the community. I just wanted to add kind of lastly that for us to be able to continue to be more efficient, more consistent, and just offer a better experience for everybody comes in, for us is really awesome in this part of town. We hope that this part of town and the central part of the city can really develop and grow and become more and more attractive to more people. And so as we anticipate that happening, we want to be equipped with the tools to do that as best that we can and give all of our attention to the people walking the door.
I did have a question if I could add.
Okay, Josh.
So I was just curious, how many employees do you guys employ there? And then also, do you start everybody out at minimum wage? Do you have some other higher wage jobs there? What's kind of your averages, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the Scappoose location, we have, I think, you don't have to quote me on that one, but I think we have 6 employees right now. And some of those employees also share some roles either in our kitchen, which is in St. Helens, or at our other location in North Portland. So the overall employee size is between 20 to 25 employees. Most of our employees start out at minimum wage. They also get tips through service. And then as they grow in either responsibility or leadership positions, they're then compensated for that. So we have kind of a tier within our cafes that we call our team leaders. There's a couple of those here in Scappoose. They make a couple extra dollars per hour for what they do, and then they get paid for outside work on top of their bar shifts where they're working on design stuff for us or helping us plan things or put on events or that kind of thing. And they hold responsibility within our team. So that's kind of the next layer. And then on top of that, we have managers that oversee each location or operation, and they are paid on top of that.
Thank you. Yeah, and so I guess my point would be that, this grant money would help you guys with your equipment and allow you guys to continue business as well as maybe possibly grow in our community.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I have a question for our group.
Yes.
Do we find it more productive to listen to all applications and make choices following? Because we only have a certain amount of money, or are we making choices as we go?
I would recommend that we hear all of them out and then make choices.
I support that.
If we're limited on resources, we shouldn't, maybe the best one is the last one, so.
I just wanted to clarify what process we were using. Thank you.
Then I would also clarify, is it same for each of the programs are from the same pool of money then? We do not have it broken out at this point in time, correct?
Everything is in one lump sum.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they're all grouped together.
Thank you.
We have like $55,000. Is that what's in there?
Yes, 55,000 for it.
I have a question. At what point does that amount increase?
So right now on average, it's about 28,000 per year. It does increase over time. Sorry, I apologize. I can't remember off the top of my head
No.
exactly the exact numbers, but this is about 2 years worth of accumulation of funds. So normally there wouldn't be this much available, but because nothing happened with it last year, that's why there's this amount.
I have another question. And let's say someone's application today is not funded either in the amount that they would like or funded at all. There's an opportunity to send in another application.
So I believe did have that discussion and now I'm have to go back through and double check to see. I think there was a possibility that I'd want to, before saying I want to go back and look, because I know that there was some discussion about whether or not they could keep applying for the same project.
Right.
So I'd want to go back just real quick and double check to see, what you all had decided about that.
My recollection was you could come before us, maybe in one round
Right.
and be applying for two different things, like, that sound familiar? You can't ask for the same,
So
but then again, did we agree on a timeline? Like, are we doing this every 6 months? Are we doing this
So
once?
generally speaking, I believe we talked about doing it, well, there's, the funding is in place and comes in once a year.
Yes.
So I think it really just depends on how much you end up spending. Like if you sit down in one meeting and spend all the money, then obviously for the year it's done, right?
Mhm.
If you don't, or you maybe just have one application and they ask for a small amount of money and you make the award and don't spend it all, then obviously you could continue. So, you know, there's also a lot of flexibility built into this too. I know that that was intentional to give you all, the option to be nimble and make the decisions you want to make if you find a project you're really excited about or something like that. So, I think it really just depends.
Think, okay, so on the district improvement grant program business development page, it says only one grant per tenant and or property owner per building location will be allowed in any one fiscal year period, with the ability to apply again in future fiscal years. So it seems like you could bring it back, the same
Right.
project if you needed to, if you didn't get funded the first year. I know some of the applications, one in particular for the gravel lot kind of across from City Hall, they're not looking to enter into construction until probably 2024. So, you may not want to allocate all the money to them while you have other people here who are waiting for construction to begin sooner. Although this has been a priority, sort of, in my opinion, for the city to develop because it's so central to this core that we're trying to build. So perhaps the council could consider that you could earmark some money for that one kind of in the future as it's coming on board. Of course, you'll have a different council then, so
I was gonna say, I don't think.
hard
that
to
we can-
do, hard
no,
to do.
I don't think we can. I don't think we can do that. I don't.
Other
think-
than
We can
to
be
intend
mindful.
that you,
Yeah, we can,
yeah,
I think that I think what we do I mean, 2024 project should probably be asking us for funding in 2023, 2024.
Mhm.
And, I mean, and the projects that are more ready to go should go right away. And
I'm not trying to put staff on the spot by any means, and I'm not claiming that I knew the answers to all of that. I like to get all the questions answered because it is very true that it is very open and we can sort of really do whatever we want with the 55. And I just want to make sure that we're being transparent with each other as an agency as we go into these decisions tonight. So I wasn't trying to put anyone on the spot or seeking specific answers. I just wanted to make sure that we all were coming in the same headspace.
And it also just indicate too that there's a slightly different timelines for the business development and new development. They're
Mhm.
supposed to be done 1 year for the business development, and then they've got 2 years for the new development.
Thank
So
you. Since we can't talk, on the side and figure all this out ahead of time.
public rules. All right, why don't we move on to the next one, since we kind of got our bearings there.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
you.
The Columbia Building Pyramid Holdings LLC, is there anyone here representing them? This is the one that's
I don't believe
2024.
so. Yeah, so this one is the one from 2024. They did include some concept drawings. I believe City Manager Rains has spoken to you about this potential dedication of right-of-way from ODOT. That is still in the works. Nothing is totally official yet. They also included a preliminary design. These aren't numbered. A preliminary design from the actual property across the street. This is very early, and I don't know that it's going to fully be this way, but The owner, Bill, I think he did provide a good description or, view of what he's looking to do, which is to have sort of a mixed use building there on the corner with the front facing East Columbia being sort of a courtyard area with a roll up door, having a brewery or winery there, just a really place where people can walk to and that's very pedestrian friendly from the street. So he is still in his early planning phase, mostly because he can't technically fit all of the off-street parking on his lot to make it work with the number of units that would really pencil for him. We were trying to get creative. Our development code, since it was updated in 2016 after we adopted the last transportation system plan, it does provide some flexibility for a property owner to come up with a different parking standard if they go through an analysis with their traffic consultant to figure out how they can show kind of what the demand and need is at different times of the day for on-street parking, and so that we can look at a combination of on-street and off-street parking to meet their requirement. He has engaged a consultant to do that work. And it's still just a matter of finding what works as far as if we get this right of way dedication and he can partner with us to put some of that on-street parking combined with his alternative parking analysis to sort of see what works. We see this as a benefit for sure for our downtown core. And then he also included a few exhibit pages from a project he has going in Hillsborough right now, just to show the type of work that he does. And so, a lot of this, obviously, it's not exactly what we're going to see across the street, but it just gives you kind of an idea of what they're working towards in other nearby jurisdictions.
Lori, on this, the email from Isaac, to Isaac, it sounds like the grant dollars they're looking for is to help with the cost of design, planning, engineering, architectural work. But maybe I'm just overlooking it, but I don't see the amount they're asking for.
I believe he's asking for the full 50. It was my understanding.
All right, why don't we move on to if there's any other questions?
Just to confirm, there's no representative from the applicant to provide insights for this evening? Online, calling in?
Does not appear to be the case.
Thank you.
All right, the next one would be the CC Pod LLC, Food Court Pod. Their representative.
Does not appear to be anyone here to represent this one. So I can just provide just briefly. So the food cart pod was approved by the Planning Commission July 29th of this year. That is a 1-year approval. They can request an extension, but essentially this approval will last until next, early August, July 30th.
Mr. Mayor? I would ask, is there anyone on the commission that would want to recuse themselves of this particular applicant?
Do that as soon as got a chance.
Just want to give you the opportunity. Yeah.
For thinking of me.
I try.
I'll just share a little bit more.
Yeah.
This one is definitely in the design phase. So they are working on their construction documents. I do believe they hired a new design firm, not the firm who took them through land use. So they're just getting their plans sort of hashed out, and we're hoping to see those construction documents come in here in the next few months, hopefully.
And what's the amount they're asking for? Because again, I don't see.
Again,
I-
quite certain they're looking for the full amount
Yeah.
of 50,000.
That was my understanding also.
All right, any other questions? Nope. Seeing no other questions, let's go ahead and move. The fourth one is the final one, right? So that would be Jaw Ventures LLC, Healthy Smiles. I believe there's a representative here.
Good evening. My name is Kendall Lyday Williams. You can call me either of those last names. I don't usually respond to Williams, but that is the official name on the application. So my husband and I have developed an LLC to be the real estate holding company for Healthy Smiles of Scappoose, which is the company that I currently own. I have been the owner and the dentist in town for 17 years at this practice. I have been renting space from my previous practice partner, and he owns the building I'm currently in. The goal was to always for me to buy that building. But the good news is I have outgrown that building. So there are 2 dentists. There are 15 full-time employees with living wages as I mean, everybody makes over 40,000, everybody gets benefits, everybody gets paid time off, all of the things of a living wage where we are currently at. The goal is to provide more services, have more rooms and availability for people to get their dental care needs. Also bring in specialists. That would not be full-time specialists. I would bring specialists from Portland, Beaverton, to bring other services out here that we currently cannot provide for our community. I do have currently an orthodontist that does come out part-time on Fridays, so that would not add any more employees, part-time employees. But currently, we would be adding at least 5 full-time employees, a general dentist and 2 hygienists, 2 assistants in a front office, maybe even 6. Maybe 1 hygienist, it just depends on the flow. So that would add 5 to 6 full-time employees at a living wage, plus 6 to 10 part-time specialists, assistants. They would not be my employees. They would be use it as like a satellite office. We are also providing 20 more parking spots for the downtown area that I would not be on the weekends if we have a festival or, the farmer's market. I would be open for that parking space for people to use that. I won't be like, you're going to be towed if if you park here, Grumpy's towing or something like that. So, the whole purpose of me building a new office is to provide more services. My goal has always been to create a nice oral health care center where everybody can be treated at a higher level of that dentistry has to offer. My goal is to step back a day doing restorative dentistry and provide more services myself for airway and overall health type of things. That's where I see my own professional being, I guess, going in that direction. So I will hire somebody else to pick up those restorative things that everybody knows and needs and wants. So my project's over $3 million. I don't even have the last budget because we started this pre-pandemic and things have totally changed. So the beginning of November, I will have that ugly final number. I know it's over 3 million. You guys see what I have pre-pandemic. And last week, the planning commission approved. We still have a little bit of the appeal period we have to wait for, but breaking ground or demolishing the house that's currently there, January 2023. We will be in the new building by the end of November 2023. All right? Anybody have any questions?
What's your total dollar ask?
50,000, as much as possible. It is really hard not knowing what this whole project is gonna cost me. So, just to be open, I did apply for another grant through the Business Oregon, and it is looking very promising. So, of course, I would like the full amount of that too, because I have a feeling that with the change since the pandemic, that all of that is gonna be well above.
And that looked like a meaty number as well. Hopefully you do get it.
It would be nice.
Any other questions? Looking up to see if Josh or anyone.
Didn't unmute themselves.
Muted them all.
There's
Right.
little hands they can. Oh, sorry. Or
Thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say thanks for all your support for community events that you and your company provide.
Mhm.
You are so welcome. I'm happy that I'm able to provide that.
All right. That was the last of them. That was correct.
Yes.
Not a surprise one in here. Nope. Okay, council. Thoughts on,
Are we just looking at really one for this year?
No, we can do whatever
We
we
could do a
want.
little bit for each one of them. We could do 0 for 3 of them and all of it to 1. That's that flexibility that we
Yeah.
have built in.
If it's understanding correct, looks like only 2 of them will be done operating by 2023.
By the end of 2023,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that would, as I understand it, would be.
Could I ask
Capital and the Eagle.
Could I ask Cathedral a couple of follow-up questions? Could you remind me of your name again? I apologize. Matt, thank you. So Matt, in the application, it says that the applicant has not provided design or visuals in regards to where it would be placed, if it's an architectural, a layover or blueprint of the facility and where the new machine would be, statement on matching funds, a timeline for the implementation of the actual equipment. The funding ask, I think, is there, but it's indicating that it's not. So I feel like you've provided that. We know that you have a valid business license on hand, but we would need that provided. Do you feel confident on behalf of Cathedral Cafe to be able to provide those if we were to provide those to the Urban Renewal Agency before funds would be released if we decided to fund this particular project?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you,
I was just gonna say, I don't think that the replacement of a espresso machine requires a conceptual design.
well, it says a photo of maybe the space that it would be replacing the current one.
I mean, this is a checklist that we use for every application, so.
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean it's, I mean,
Yeah, you don't have to go and get an architectural design firm to put something together to show where the new piece of equipment would be, but just to give us some insights on where it would be located, any additional information that the applicant would want to provide to us, I think would suffice for my needs. Would that be okay with the rest of the agency?
Yeah, we'd be happy to provide anything that you guys need to feel comfortable or confident in helping us out with it.
I see a thumbs up from Commissioner Poling. And a thumbs up from Commissioner Miller. So I would, I guess, recommend to the agency that we approve Cathedral Coffee's application request,
Contingent.
contingent upon all of the additional documentation that is being requested, and that we would, once provided, that we would fulfill the $7,000 request.
Second it.
Do we need motions and to carry the motions for the approval of this? I mean,
Yeah, you actually are a government agency when you're sitting in this role, so we do have to follow the same.
or are you making a motion?
yeah. So that's where I said recommendation. I can repeat that.
Please repeat it.
All right. So I move that the agency approve Cathedral Coffee's application contingent on providing the city staff with the full documentation request associated to the new piece of equipment and fund it at the ask of $7,000.
Second it.
Hearing a motion by Commissioner Lasowski, seconded by Commissioner McHugh. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Josh and Tyler, if you just use the thumbs up, that'd be great. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And both Josh Bowling and Ty Miller did vote yes with a thumbs up on the screen up there.
Discussion would be city staff. Is there a timeline? I should have probably asked that before we moved on that. 90 days, 30 days, what, I mean,
essentially, we just need a W-9 from them and then we can, go about processing the check. It would just depend on when we receive that information and the additional information you've asked for, and then just which check run essentially it ends up in. So,
In the 90 days, of course, before we release the funds. So
there we go.
sooner the better,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
I would ask though, like if, I'm not saying Cathedral would do this, or an applicant were to say, they wait, I don't know, 300 days before they provide it to us, and we could have reestablished that money into another. So I'm just trying to create an expectation of fulfillment.
They actually have 1 year to complete it.
I think he's talking about the receipt of the additional info that they asked for. I thought it was a year to complete the purchase. Okay, I think he's referring to the additional materials he wants to see before we release the money.
Sounded like you were pretty ready to get going anyway, if I recall.
Could we request within 30 days then, just so everyone's under the same understanding?
Would we need another motion with the expectation of 30 days to be provided?
I think as long as the applicant understands that they need to provide a picture of the machine and a picture of where the machine goes, that's probably something they can get done in 30. But I don't think we need to.
And who is he going to give that to? Just so we make sure we're getting it to the right people.
Me.
Going to Lori, is it going to
Viola.
Isaac? Okay,
Isaac,
so City Hall.
run it across the street.
And just,
Yo,
Or that.
and this is thank you for giving us grace. This is our first time we've ever done this and had to make these decisions. So, and I think what Commissioner Lasowski is trying to set as a precedence, not trying to be nitpicky, but that we expect the same things with every application, whether it is an espresso machine or a whole building, right? And so thank you so much for providing some of those extra things for our checklist. Yeah.
thank you guys so much. We
And
appreciate the
officially,
help.
Cathedral Coffee is the first company funded by the Urban Renewal
There you
to-
Ooh, that's a big deal.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
on any
congratulations.
project, so.
Get that paperwork in.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
I could ask for another person to come back up.
Well, that would only be
Yep.
Dr. Lyday.
I don't want the money right now.
Oh.
I want it in 2 months.
You want it in 2 months. Fine.
So Carol, we're down to like 46 and some change,
Create.
48 and change.
Yep.
All right.
And that's being mindful that would deplete all of our funding.
Right, so there'd be no other, if
Yep.
somebody else came in.
Mhm.
The next fiscal year.
Till the next fiscal year, which even then would be another 28.
Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe.
approximately.
Yep. Thank you.
Doctor, could you please explain to us a little bit more about your grant application with Oregon Business?
Yeah, so I approached Melanie Olson and Lori got me in touch with her. And I'm going to be very honest. She is not very transparent and very difficult to get a hold of. I have not
like this.
really. She tells me when I've talked to her, I always have to reach out to her. I have no idea if I'm getting that money. I have no idea. She is always very positive when we talk about it, but I've never seen anything in writing.
Sure.
And it has been since May that I applied for that grant. So as hopeful as I am, I'm also very skeptical.
Sounded
And it is for, that grant is not for the building. It is for keeping my employees
okay.
and adding employees. So it is not necessarily for the actual, real estate. It's more for, bringing on more employees.
Thank you
like
for that.
a 5,000 per new employee.
Something like that. Yeah. So it's up
Yeah.
to 75,000. And so that's what I applied for.
It's the Cascade, or Cascade, if you talk to the French Canadians up there, they use that grant as well.
Did they? Yeah. She sounds very hopeful, but I mean, honestly, I've
Until you see
had to
the-
reach out to her and, oh yeah, but no, but it's not for the actual building.
Yeah, so just to clarify, it's personnel that
Correct.
you would be able to bring new, as
Yeah,
you
and-
indicated, living wage jobs to our
Correct.
community,
Yeah.
potentially up to 6 full-time staff, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Not part-time staff and full-time
Correct.
staff, which I truly appreciate. I know Commissioner McHugh had also indicated it. And so more business development is something that I'm in full support of. But I also am not the only one that spends the money up here, so I want to give everyone else a chance.
It seems to me that if we wanted to keep $50,000 each year to distribute, then basically what we have right now is maybe another $18,000 that we could allocate. Figuring it correctly in my head. And that would provide next year at this time, if we get another 20 grand, we'd be back up to $50,000. Just pointing that out.
So this is the amount we're allocating into this part of the budget for the Urban Renewal Agency. The total funds are more than 28 at this point, or
They're the 55.
So it's right. So you've got the 55 minus the 7 you just
yeah.
allocated to Cathedral. It's this number because it's been a couple years of it accruing without it being spent. Normally, it's not going to be this much unless, again, it just sits and accrues.
How many years are left on Cascade's?
Oh,
Oh, abatement.
Yeah, I mean, that should be,
I
because
don't
it sounds like
think
it's
there's
coming
much
to an end real
left.
quick.
I mean, it should be a year.
Know that they had the extension on the equipment for the equipment just recently, but I think the
That's-
first
At the last Columbia Economic Team meeting, there was a lot of discussion about Cascade falling off. So I think it might be falling off,
Okay.
and paying full taxes next year.
yeah, that sounds about right.
So
It's very close.
then all those property taxes, well,
It would
since
increase.
the increments, yeah, that's going to be confusing. The increments since that was built, and that was built prior to the URA.
Right. So when it comes back on the rolls, it'll go into the URA if it's in the district.
Okay.
At the current assessed value, correct?
Right.
Not the,
Correct.
So anything that was built prior to the urban renewal district, like when things were added and it was in urban renewal, because it's a frozen tax base, so it gets frozen at the time that it goes into the district.
Josh?
My question was, did somebody say it was 28,000 was roughly what the estimate was going to be added in for next year?
Yeah, I believe that's what it is for next year. It's 28 or 29. It does go up a little bit year over year. And further into the district, it does start to get a little bit more noticeably larger, the amount, but initially it's not a lot of money.
So my suggestion would be that we keep it around that 28,000, since that's going to approximately what's going to get added back in for next year. So I would say we'd have about 21,000 if we went with that estimate.
What did you say, 24? Give or
I
take, I
said-
mean,
I
we're,
said 18 to bring it up to 50, but we were at 55, so.
So the decision, I mean, obviously all three of these other ones are for the max 50K on all three. There's a part of me that would like to wait to find out if you get the grant. To be honest, if you get the Oregon, the Business Oregon grant, which I think you probably are going to get it, whether or not Melanie's communicating properly with you, but based on my recollection of that grant, it gets doled out pretty well on those type of things.
I just want to hear from Jeanette, who's on, and Josh and Tyler, if you would like to make decisions on the other two applications before we make a final decision on the one that's in front of us, or if we've dismissed the other two and we're talking only about this application for the rest of the evening, considering we only have about 14 minutes left.
This is Tyler. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I would prefer to hear them all before making a decision.
So we've read all the applications, but a representative didn't come from the other two.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any other questions about those applications, and I think the only purpose of hearing from them would be to answer questions. So I guess it's a matter of if any other council members or commission members rather have any outstanding questions on those ones.
I think my only other concerns really would be, for me, I'm looking more at what can provide something sooner than later. Especially where we have two projects right now that are going to provide future jobs future growth nearby or soon, and aren't still in planning phases. So that would be my kind of more my concerns.
Commissioner Santiago? What? Commissioner Santiago?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was having difficulty. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I had technical difficulty logging on. I'm in a very loud place right now. So I can't give an assessment, a real assessment, since I haven't been able to hear the application process. So maybe, hate to do this, but maybe there's a time that I can review them. I can give you my opinion after. But I know, I mean, if you need a decision right now, I don't think I can properly give that decision without reviewing everything. My apologies.
Okay. Thank you, Jeanette.
So for me, I'm not prepared to award any money to Pyramid Holdings LLC this evening, but that's my opinion. I'd like to move on from, if we're going in order of how we've received them, unless there's any more questions for Dr. Lyday.
I don't have any more questions for Dr. Light.
Yeah, I'm good on that, yeah.
Okay, so we've awarded the first applicant the 7,000. The second application is for Pyramid Holdings, which is for First Street. I personally, at this time, am not prepared to award any money to that application. My opinion.
I agree.
The ways out too.
I think this one's a year early.
So then, if that's the consensus, I'm again just looking at the time. The third application is the CC Pod, which is the food court or food pod over by the Welcome to Scappoose off Old Portland Road. So I don't know if anyone's prepared to have a discussion about dollar amounts for this application.
Well, I think the first thing is we don't have the 50K that's being requested. And we've got another one for 50K that's been requested. So, I mean, obviously 50K is out the window. I think we're what, at 48?
I just want to know if we're going to take the time tonight to have a discussion about awarding CC Pod any funds this evening.
I would not want to consider their application just based on the fact that a representative wasn't here. Does not mean that I would not want to bring this application back to the agency at a later point in time to be able to answer any questions. Now, I would ask for a point of clarification, just because the application is in front of us and maybe we don't want to review the application tonight because there isn't a representative from any applicant or any of the applicants that are not present. It doesn't mean that we can't have staff reach out to them at a later date for them to potentially present to us. Is that something that we could do,
Yes,
right?
you could definitely do that.
Lori, where were we or are we on their timeline? You had mentioned something about design, and so
Yeah, so they are working with a new design firm to kind of hash out their site and get everything up to speed. I would say, as far as who's ready to break ground first, whose plans are more prepared and ready to go, would be Healthy Smiles.
I just want it to be very known that I am in very much in support of this CC Pod development. I want nothing more than to see it come here and come to fruition. So I'm very in favor of entertaining this this application and talking about a price to be awarded to them.
It's not tonight.
I didn't say that. But if that's the consensus, then we can talk about it at a later date.
Brandon?
Yes.
Thoughts?
I'm in full support of the cart pod as well, the food cart pod. And I'm not suggesting that I'm not willing to apply. I just suggest, my suggestion is that I would have really enjoyed having folks here to answer any questions or to understand the variable of their need if we can't meet the full 50,000.
Sure. I just say that in mind that we're going to look at this fourth application that it seems like we're all willing to award money to, and just keeping in mind what we want to save in the bank for next year and maybe what we want to save to discuss further with CC Pod.
Question for Peter. Peter, should I even be involved in any of the other distributions of funds since they're all kind of come out of the same pool
Yeah, I think it would probably make sense to recuse yourself
from all this?
from it because one receiving funds might impact the ability for another to receive funds.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So the one that's more shovel ready is Healthy Smiles. CC Pod's still working on it.
And again, in all fairness, it would be best to hear that maybe from the applicant. I just know that the plans we received from the Healthy Smiles application were very good as part of land use. So typically, we don't have to have as much detail on the plans for land use. They took it real far at that stage. So I would assume with some minor touch-ups, they'd have their construction documents ready to go quite soon.
Great. So with the 7 minutes we have, maybe come up with a number for
Healthy Smiles?
the fourth applicant.
Sure. Jeanette texted me. She said she agrees to wait. Personally, I would like time to review.
With CC Pod? Great, thanks.
Oh, someone jumping on. Okay.
She's here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
We
my
need
point.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
trying to get us there.
Oh,
Thanks
but
for
if
being
we-
patient.
If we award this applicant, and I'm just throwing in an arbitrary number, $15,000. And then it cuts into what the need is for the potential next applicant. and potentially what we would carry over as a starting fund for next fiscal year, I guess, right?
Mhm.
So I think, yes, we need to be very mindful of, well, how much do we want to allocate at this point in time, knowing that it will impact future applicants moving forward. So I am in full support of identifying a number in the next 6 minutes that we could provide to a business owner who is showing that they want to invest in our city.
Josh, Tyler, anyone online, do you have a number that you'd like to throw out?
Yeah, I would say 20,000 is where the number I was in my head.
Tyler?
He has someone repairing something in his hotel room that sometimes he can't get off mute for.
No, I don't have a number is what he,
Great.
that was Jeanette, excuse me.
Jeanette doesn't have a number.
He can't give one.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I like the 15,000.
Megan?
15.
I'm gonna roll with the 15. So do I have a motion?
I move that we award Dr. Lyday with Healthy Smiles of Scappoose $15,000.
Hearing a motion to award Dr. Lyday's Healthy Smiles of Scappoose $15,000 for their urban renewal plans, and they're creating more jobs in the community. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second, is there any discussion? Mostly looking up there. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye. Can I be fully transparent?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to make these decisions, and then now that we're sitting with it and looking at the
Let
two
me-
projects that
okay.
we've awarded it to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's finish the vote. Any opposed?
Thank you for that.
Sorry. It's
No,
okay.
thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Go.
Thank you. Is when you're thinking about a dollar amount based upon the project.
Yeah.
It's not an easy decision. So not to say that you're not worth more than $15,000. I don't. Thank you, Job Ventures. Yeah. You know what I mean? 7.
Yeah, there's a $3 million,
Yeah.
potentially a $3 million project, and 15 is what we can currently provide to make sure that we also can have a fund of money that can be shared across a variety of different developments. I do understand that you are investing in our community, and I thank you and your company for doing so. And I hope that through our urban renewal district in time, that funding will only grow. So I want to say thanks again.
Peter, you got 2 minutes or less.
It'll take less. Given that you've kind of bifurcated this process after you get more information on the other applications, you could always revisit this amount, decide. I mean, right now you're locked into the 15,000, but you could revisit that as you gather more information and decide how you want to allocate these funds.
And just clarify, she can apply again in a year?
Well, as part of this 55,000, I'm not saying you need to do all of it, but if you hear from another project under consideration and decide after hearing from them that you're going to go with, like, pick a number less than 48 or less than 33,000, then you could revisit her application and decide to augment that up.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, this urban renewal agency meeting is adjourned.